Welcome to the Ordinary Council meeting of Wednesday, 22nd January 2025. In the spirit of open, accessible and transparent government, Berrigan Shire Council's meetings are recorded. By speaking at a council meeting, members of the public agree to being recorded. Berrigan Shire Council accepts no liability for any defamatory, discriminatory or offensive remarks or gestures that are made during the course of the council meeting. Opinions expressed or statements made by individuals are the opinions or statements of those individuals and do not imply any form of endorsement by Berrigan Shire Council. Confidential matters of council will not be recorded. Recordings are protected by copyright and owned by Berrigan Shire Council. No part may be copied, recorded, reproduced or transmitted without the prior written consent of the CEO. Any recording is not and shall not be taken to be an official record of Berrigan Shire Council meetings or the discussion depicted therein. Only the official minutes may be relied upon as an official record of the meeting. A record of the council meeting will be taken for administrative and minute preparation purposes only and is provided to the public for listening purposes to support council's statutory obligations. Item 2. Berrigan Shire Council acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land on which we live and thrive. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. The people of these great nations, their spirits and ancestors will always remain with our waterways and lands. A statement of ethical obligations. In accordance with section 233A of the Local Government Act 1993, the Mayor and councillors are bound by the oath or affirmation of office made at the start of council term to undertake the civic duty in the best interests of the people at Berrigan Shire Council. They must faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in them under the LGA 1993 or any other act to the best of their ability and judgment. Disclosures of interest. Pursuant to the provisions of the Local Government Act 1993, the Berrigan Shire Council Code of Meeting Practice and the Berrigan Shire Code of Conduct, councillors are required to disclose and manage both pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests of any matter on this agenda for this meeting. In both cases, the nature of the interests must be disclosed. Item 3.1, do we have any apologies? We don't, or leaves of absence? 3.2, any applications for leave of absence? No, thank you. We have no attendance via audio-visual link. Item 4, the recommendation is that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held in the council chambers on Wednesday 4 December 2024 be confirmed. Do we have a mover? Yep. Councillor Natikoa, a seconder. Councillor Brooker, all in favour? Thank you, carried. Any disclosure of interests? I have an interest in relation to item 8.22 of the agenda and I'll leave the room for that one.
3. The nature of the interest?
The nature is that I am a board member of Gorm Valley Health and I am an applicant for Albury-Wodonga Health's board. I have no mayoral minutes, number 6. Could I get someone to move to suspend standing orders so we can move forward with the affirmation for Councillor Dennis? Councillor Stringer, seconded. Councillor Payne, all in favour? Thank you, carried. So we'll now move to the oath of Councillor Dennis. Do you need to stand, Councillor Dennis?
For this
Apologies.
One you do. Sure. Start.
Go ahead.
Lovely. I, Sharon Dennis, solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interests of the people of the Berrigan Shire area and the Berrigan Shire Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers and authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Dennis, and could we all have a round of applause to congratulate Councillor Dennis on her election at the by-election that took place late last year. So, welcome. We will continue on at item 7.1, which is the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee minutes of the 3rd of December 2024. The recommendation is that council receive and note the minutes of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee held on 3 December 2024. Do we have a mover? Councillor Payne, a seconder? Councillor Natikoa. Any questions or comments?
Yes, if I could, and apologies, councillors. The minutes refer to the annual statement by the chair of the ARIC committee. They weren't that statement wasn't attached. It was attached. It was sent out to councillors by letter circular. The ARIC chair will come and speak at the next corporate workshop in February. Pardon me, I'm not got my words this afternoon. We'll come and speak at the corporate workshop in February. But to save her reading that statement again, she'd like you to take that as read, and you can ask questions on the date.
Excellent. Thank you, Acting CEO. Anyone, any questions or comments? All in favour of the recommendation? Thank you, carried. Items 8.2 and 8.4 are all for information, so we'll take questions or comments by exception. Does anyone have anything for 8.2? Councillor Hannan?
Just a couple there. Just in the promoting dignity of the chamber and the rights for councillors to attend video audio link will be restricted only to meet ill health or unforeseen caring responsibilities. I think we should be pushing back on that. State government allows working from home conditions in legislation, and I believe that the mayor should be able to make decisions around if it's recalcitrant or not. But, you know, so if Councillor Renee over here can't get off the tractor, then too bad, you can't attend a meeting because work commitments do not come under this category. So
yeah, I agree with you, and I think extraordinary meetings in particular, when you don't, you know, who knows where you're going to be. I plan to write a letter personally. I don't know if people want to write letters personally or we write one as a council.
I'd like to see we do one for the council. And the second one is that, and this is just but it says that, what does it say there, that councillors would be expected to stand when the mayor enters the chambers and then we're required to stand when addressing the council. I think that's, again, defamatory, and I believe that you have a clear disadvantage when you do actually get to stand to speak. And that's not only just me being in a wheelchair, but other people do have mobility issues, and being able to stand might be restrictive. So I'd like to see some pushback on that as well.
Yep, I agree that I actually think a number of the points in there around the so-called formality actually make local government less accessible. That it make, you know, people who wants to come in and have to stand up and, you know, all of this, you know, we're here for the people. Let's treat people like people. So I think, would you like to move that we put together a submission?
Especially those 2 points be addressed.
May I also add that, like under workplace law rules, you are actually allowed to have flexible working arrangements and you're not paid anywhere near a full-time employee.
So you're being told you must attend in person, and you need to arrange your work arrangements like that, or else you can't participate. However, you're also getting told by the same minister that you're doing this for the love of the position and for the community. You can't. Well, in my view anyway, I think that's having it both ways. Yep. You're sort of being told, no, this is a voluntary thing, but hang on, no, you need to make sure that you are there in person, and you actually being away on a work trip is not sufficient for you to actually be allowed to.
And I'd add to that, you know, some people may actually be on holiday, but are still going to give up time of their holiday to attend the meeting and attend to their official duties. Yeah. So I don't think it necessarily is right, but I agree. So we've got Councillor Hannan moves, seconder, Councillor Natikoa, all in favour for 8.2. We do an official submission on that. Yep. Excellent, thank you, carried. 8.3 and 8.4, anyone got anything in relation to those? No? Okay, great. 8.5, integrated planning and reporting and budget timelines. This is for receiving and noting. Do we have a mover? Councillor Payne, seconder. Yep. Councillor Healy, any questions or comments?
Just for consideration, you don't need to make a decision right now. Just noting the delivery program operational plan need to go for 28 days exhibition, which means that we may need to hold an extraordinary meeting. If that's the case, we need to think about the timing of that meeting, because you'll have the Mayor and CEO at the National General Assembly. So again, we can either try and move our dates and our meetings around so that we give ourselves our 28 days, remembering that staff will be busy trying to put the whole thing together as well, so you haven't got a lot of scope to move it forward. And again, this would be the ideal time to try and do things remotely, but we'll see how that goes under the new model code. But there's some time to think about it, but you may need to just have reflect on that as councillors, how that's going to work.
Perhaps we can say we're caring for the politicians in Canberra. I didn't say that. All in favour of receiving and noting 8.5, thank you, carried. 8.6, it's the November 2024 by-election matters. The recommendation is that council write to the chairperson of the New South Wales Electoral Commission and the New South Wales Electoral Commissioner expressing their concerns regarding the cost to and imposition on council relating to the November 2024 by-election. Do we have a mover? Councillor Brooker, seconder. Councillor Payne. I think we can take the comprehensive report as read. It was quite stunning. Yep. Any questions or comments?
I was a little upset.
It is outrageous, and I wholeheartedly support what you're proposing. All right, all in favour? Thank you, carried. So items 8.7 through to 8.11 are all for receiving and noting, so I propose that we get someone to move those as a block. Do we have a mover? Councillor Natikoa, a seconder? Someone to second that? 8.7 to 11. Councillor Brooker? Okay, and if anyone's got any questions or comments, we can go through those one by one. 8.7, Southern Riverina Drought Resilience Plan. Any questions or comments?
That was a hefty document that you sent.
It is indeed.
It is indeed.
Appreciate you sending it.
Very dry. Pardon the pun, that was not intended.
Yep. Club Grant Sporties Baruga at 8.8. Right, the designated persons' returns of interest at 8.9, noting they were for the period of 24-25. 8.10, the development determinations for month of December 2024.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
The shipping containers that were listed in there for Vermont Street in Baruga, please tell me they were for the can recycling?
Correct.
Okay, happy with that.
Thank you. And 8.11, actions from previous meetings. Any questions or comments? Okay, so all in favour and receiving and noting items 8.7 to 8.11 inclusive? Excellent, thank you, carried. We're now at 8.12.
We are.
Yep, page 45.
All right. Okay, so 8.12, the finance accounts for November. The recommendation is that council receive the financial statement, bank reconciliation certificate and petty cash book made up to 30 November 2024, and that we confirm the accounts paid as per warrant number 11-24, totalling $4,523,504.89, and note the report on investments attached. Do we have a mover?
Yep.
Councillor Natikoa, a seconder. Councillor Brooker, any questions or comments? No? All in favour?
Yep.
Thank you, carried. Move to 8.13. Just the finance accounts for December. The recommendation is that council receive the financial statement, bank reconciliation certificate and petty cash book made up to 31 December 2024, that we confirm the accounts paid as per warrant number 12-24, totalling $4,761,956.19, and note the report on investments attached. Do we have a mover?
Yep.
Councillor Healy, a seconder.
Yep.
Councillor Natikoa, any questions or comments? No? All in favour of the recommendation? Thank you, carried. All right, 8:14, the National General Assembly. So we have a recommendation here, which I'm not going to read all the details, but we have item 1, that council approve the mayor, the council ought to be nominated, and the CEO to attend the Australian Local Government Association National General Assembly from 25 to 27 June 2025 in Canberra, and adopt the motions as detailed in our report there from A through to C. Do we have a mover?
Yep.
Councillor Natikoa, seconder. Councillor Hannon?
Are we going to put a councillor in there? before
I was
we
going to
do
ask that in a second, but... Seconder, Councillor Brooker. Would the Deputy Mayor like to attend? I know we discussed.
Your thing isn't on.
Providing I can wean this baby, then yes, I'd love to attend.
You've got till June.
Yeah, should be done by then.
Are our mover and seconders happy with the addition of the Deputy Mayor? Yep. Okay. Any questions or comments in relation to that? No? All in favour of the recommendation?
Yep.
Thank you. Carried. 8:15, the recommendation is that council support the CEO to attend the USA delegation and ICMA conference by allowing the time of the trip to be seen as work time, i.e. not require the CEO to take leave from the period 20 October to 30 October 2025. Do we have a mover?
Yep.
Councillor Natikoa, a seconder. Councillor Payne. Any questions or comments? Or did you want to speak, CEO?
Just that I really do want to go. I don't want council to have to pay for the actual trip because it is, like, it's $10,000. I feel it's a really good opportunity for me to go and see how other people actually manage local government, because they look after fire, ambulance, schools, a crazy amount of stuff. So it's even more complex than the work that we do. With my PhD study, they'll provide $1,000 towards it as well. So it helps both sort of things. So it's a bit exciting, actually. And Jackie Kruger from Leeton went last year and said it was really worthwhile. So I did actually check before I decided to go.
Okay.
So I just have a couple of questions.
Yep.
I'm going to be the devil's advocate here.
You're right,
sorry.
you can do that.
First off, is this classed as council business, the trip? Are you classing it as council business?
It would be training and development. Yep, so yes.
Yeah, okay.
I'd have to do a report on it.
Sorry?
I'd have to do a report on the
Yep.
trip. Yep.
And of what benefit, other than seeing how another jurisdiction operates, what benefit would this trip provide to the Berrigan Shire going forward?
I guess for me, it shows us that other communities probably do have exactly the same issues that we do, although they might be on a different scale. Also, the opportunity to network with some people internationally that actually work in a federal system like we do, and how they manage some of those, the push and pull. I think that will be really useful. So it does make it, I think it would help me understand, local government just that little bit better as well. But also, obviously, that networking opportunity for people, and I will never meet in any other way, but to understand how other people deal with some of the problems we're dealing with, because they're providing water supply as well in some really difficult places, and some of the innovations that really small communities come up with, I find them always amazing. So I would like
providing water like LA.
Yeah, well, that's true.
And the final question is, you said in your report that it's not any cost to the council, this is not going to be any cost, and you'd like to take it as not take leave. However, we're going to need to put the Deputy CEO in charge while you're away, and then when you come back and take leave, we're going to have to put the Deputy CEO in charge again. So it is actually going to be a cost to the council, because the Deputy CEO will have to stand up. Was that taken in consideration when you wrote this report?
Not necessarily, because I would still be available to work either side of the normal day. So there are I should be able to sign things and make decisions that would normally be part of my work anyway. I'm doing that a little, you know.
Yeah, and
so-
I suppose that's the
Yeah.
council's,
That's
whether
coun-
they're comfortable you making.
Yeah, exactly.
from the
If
merit.
council are happy with that, then we can do that. Or if they want to put Matt in, that's neither, I'm happy with either one. Council hasn't, like, I don't ask council to pay for my
No.
education, so I feel like actually in the 3 years, this is probably the first time I've asked for any of the any professional development, so.
Yeah, and take these questions as this is
No,
the
no,
first
no.
time any representatives ever want to go overseas from a staff point of view and beyond, so.
Oh, you've got to be on it. It's not just a junket. I'm actually
No,
going
no,
to
no,
do
no,
something
no,
important.
no.
Yeah.
After the questions, your opportunity to be able to explain to the community why you're doing this and why we should be making decisions for you to, you know.
Yep.
In a similar vein to what Councillor Hannan has covered, I actually would like to see us have a study leave policy that actually indicates what a proposal is made up of. So essentially the business case with the benefits, with the costs, the outputs. Because I think we need to hang our hat on something to be able to give you this. So, you know, what is the, how, you know, what sort of leave without pay do we grant? What sort of study leave? For those scenarios where staff are doing courses that support their work, I think we need something written down because
Yeah.
effectively it's ratepayers' money, but we don't have somewhere written down where we formally do it. I think we should. I also think it's a good way to incentivise people to come and work at Berrigan Shire Council as a benefit.
So we will be doing that as part of the workforce, the strategy that we're
Yeah.
developing at the moment. But yeah, I haven't got one right now.
Yeah. So I would propose that rather than make a decision on this today, we delay it until we have a policy that has been, and I know you might want to know sooner rather than later, but we do have a little bit of time.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Until such a time as we've got a policy. I actually think we put the policy on public exhibition, get the feedback from the community, and then I think we'll have a better idea on where we stand.
That's fine. Yeah.
So I'll foreshadow that. I think we have to deal with the first motion first. What's
so
already
you're-
been moved. I'll
You're
foreshadow.
foreshadowing that?
Yep.
Okay, so you're foreshadowing a motion the council, the CEO returns to council with a draft
Study leave policy.
study leave policy.
And the proposal following on from that.
Could I just intervene there?
Yeah.
Maybe the deputy CEO should bring that policy because we do have the CEO doing the
True.
sustainability report. Do not need her writing any more reports while she's doing that.
Acting CEO.
Yeah.
And in terms of actually, just to deal with the question of whether you can sign things while you're overseas, I have travelled overseas for work and it is just not possible. You know, you're on planes, you're on, it just, you
Yeah.
don't want to be doing things from the other side of the world. I had a ripper time in Istanbul, I can tell you one time, not.
Okay.
So I would warn against that. But so we'll go with the first motion was the one as published in our papers. So we'll put that. Anyone in favour?
Sorry, can I
Councillor
just
Cole.
clarify? Ultimately, the main question is around whether or not you can take this as work time or whether you've got to apply for leave. That's sort of the crux of, I just wanted to clarify that I was on the right track.
So we'll put the initial motion. Do we have anyone in favour of that? Those against? Or you're in favour of the first one? Those against? Okay, against is carried. We'll go to the foreshadowed, which is the acting CEO to return to council with a study leave policy and plan, and for the CEO to subsequently put forward a re-proposal. Do I have a seconder?
Yeah.
Councillor Brooker, all in favour of that motion?
Yep.
Okay, thank you, carried.
Okay.
Eight point 16, council's direction to sort. So we don't yet have a motion. So would you like to kick us off with some brief background there, CEO?
I will send you after this a link to what is becoming quite a large document. Just knowing that some of the information it's not yet been verified, so it's draft. I have gone a long way through. I'm in the assets really deeply right now, and it takes a bit of time to research how we got to where we are today and what their value is at today, because that will be what's become a little bit evident is we don't have any asset governance sort of framework. And we really need to start at the beginning with our asset management so that we can then make some decisions about how we manage them into the future, and that we can also, I can just finalise this document, I guess. I do believe I'm a hell of a way through now. I got a heap done in the last 2 weeks. I didn't get to it at all yesterday, and I won't tomorrow either. But I would say the asset work now is about 70% done. So that's the biggest part of the whole framework.
Any questions or comments?
Just
Councillor Dennis?
Do you require more time to?
Microphone.
Do you require more time to finish the report?
Yep, that's what the report is asking for. So I just wanted to, because what's happened is I've been working as offline as possible. I mean, I'm still coming in for executive meetings because you can't take your eyes off balls at the moment, ever. And then there's a few other little bits and pieces like that regional connectivity project and the drought resilience plan. I've sort of got to stay in because we're lead agency on those ones. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Councillor Healy?
I'm just wondering how we might mitigate the risks of further delays, given that if we do it the same as last time, we're like you've had to do a lot of other work, and if we've got an acting CEO, or I don't know, what can we put in place to make sure we don't get the same result where we come in February and there's been lots of things come up and lots of reports written, and we're still not finished.
I know. I think when you see the size of what it is now, you'll understand how big the undertaking is. It's not a small,
Yeah, I'm not
So-
minimising that. I just
No.
mean in terms of,
I
like,
know you don't
you
want me
will
to come to
have things
February.
come up, but how can you do it when you're not actually fully offline again? Does that make sense?
Well, I can turn myself fully offline. Like I said, I've just got to put in, the only thing I absolutely have to do is put in that application for the regional drought resilience to get that $350,000. There isn't a lot else on at the moment. I've pushed everything out to the February and beyond. So I don't think there is a lot else for me to deal with right now. The only other thing I could foreshadow maybe is if we get the funding for the country universities, and I can hand that off fairly easily to our staff then, because that'll be actually delivering. They'll start to look at delivering.
And if the suggested motion, if we agree to that, would the acting CEO come to the Ramjo meeting? So that's like nearly a whole day. You wouldn't.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I would send him along.
Yep. All right. So we do have a suggested motion, and we'll see if anyone would like to move that. Any other questions before I do that? No. That council direct the CEO to complete the sustainability report for presentation to the 19 February 2025 ordinary council meeting, and Deputy CEO Matt Hanson will continue as acting CEO during this time. Do we have a mover?
Yep.
Councillor Payne, seconder Councillor Natikoa. All in favour?
Yep.
All right, carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
You got a lot to do.
I am nearly, it is looking really, I'm quite happy with where I am, so that's pretty good.
Okay, 8.17 is a small business grants pilot project. We've got a recommendation that council implements a pilot program for small business grants to replace the Berrigan Shire 2025 Business Awards. Do we have a mover? Councillor Stringer, a seconder. Councillor Hannan, any questions or comments?
My only question was, the 5 million for a small business, is that a dedicated something? Because I thought 5 million seems quite a lot for a small business.
1,000?
No, for their turnover.
Oh, yes, sorry.
annual revenue of less than 5 million.
Less than, yep.
I just thought that seemed quite high personally. but-
That is high.
But it's anything less than that number is a small, I think that's is that not how?
The applicant must have an
Yeah,
annual
yeah,
say,
but
I
I just thought that
less
was
than.
probably a higher
I
end
think
of
there's-
what I would consider a
Businesses.
small business, but
I think it depends on the nature of the business too. Some businesses might be naturally have more turnover, less margin. But again, sorry, Fletcher, I'm speaking your report, you speak.
Sorry, yeah. That's from the small business grants, isn't it? That's how they work it out.
That's how they define it, but you can change it.
Yeah,
Ultimately, what it's probably doing is opening up the door for all of our businesses
Yeah.
other than major businesses to apply.
Yeah.
So it was more about seeing that if we grant that opportunity, at least we're assessing more and we might make more impact.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, I
Councillor
just have a
Healy?
question in regards to the assessment. One of the assessment points is around employment, and does the proposal have the potential to generate employment when in the criteria that's not needed necessarily? It could be for IT development or it could be for a startup. And so do we have that as part, is that I'm curious about why it's under assessment. Is that would that knock somebody out if it's,
There'd be an opportunity for them to justify of why they should be provided the grant because they're creating additional employment within our shire
sure,
in the guidelines.
but part of the, the grants are suitable for startups, expansion, innovation and technology, education, job creation. So those other, that's up in the summary.
Summary, yep.
Yeah, like,
If
if
they're-
you
if
see
they're
that
upgrading
if you see
IT.
that the assessment is job creation, is that going to stop people from applying because I'm actually, applying for a grant to do some education, or it's just about, I just am not sure why it's in there as a standalone point, if that's whether someone's going to be knocked back or preference because there's a potential for employment.
I guess a follow-up question is, would those assessment criteria be weighted, and can that be weighted lower?
From being involved in these previously, to be honest, it's around our conversation with the committee where all those things are thrown into the mix. The other thing is it's not one person successful in all. So you might have something where you're not creating employment, but we see the other benefits and therefore you would be successful in potentially supporting them for that grant opportunity. Yeah. We deliberately haven't weighted it because you find if you weight it, it means that you really open yourself up to only supporting larger businesses that meet all of the criteria.
I just didn't know whether that would be considered under the merits of the proposal, like whether it's aligned with the purpose of the grant or whether it had to be a standalone.
It doesn't have to be a standalone. The idea is that we're trying to give an information or a sheet that they can complete, give them questions to think about so they understand what we would be looking at in the assessment. Where if we remain silent on how it would be assessed, we think that we might receive incomplete applications that don't really allow us to support them. So it's trying to give some teeth.
Yeah.
To be honest, there might be other things that we would throw on the assessment, but that form would be there for everybody to use, so at least we're comparing apples with apples.
Yeah.
My reading on the document, if I could, was employment wasn't a pass-fail, it wasn't a hard gate.
It's just, does it?
It's there, and if you can demonstrate employment, that might add additional weight to that, vis-a-vis another project that might be, fairly similar. This one's going to provide X, that might weight it a bit more. On the other hand, this one might have more employment, this one has more innovation, and that might weight it the other way. I just think it's another factor as opposed to a pass-fail or something that would necessarily get you a 0 and out the door.
No, I only ask because it's its own point. So innovation isn't its own point, for example, or, so the criteria is not, I know it's also new and it's something to be built on, and I think it's fabulous, but I don't want people to not apply for it because employment, that point stands out as could this.
Take it on board. What we can do within the assessment criteria is actually add a section for innovation.
Yeah. All
of the above criteria.
What
can
you've
be
said
within
above,
there.
where does it fit? Does it tick the
Yeah.
education, job creation, innovation, what's already in the document?
The idea is really to allow people to think about it and elaborate and tell us. They've really got to sell their business.
I think it's great. I'm curious.
We can
wonder
add
whether that
more.
would stop people because it's like its own point, whereas the other points are not covered in there from your
So we can add more through you, Mayor, if you wanted. The motion could actually say that the assessment needs to pick up all of the themes of why a grant would be suitable as outlined in the summary.
Are a mover and seconder happy with that? Councillor Stringer?
Yeah, I still find 5 million to be that's not a small business. If anybody's got a revenue up around $5 million, they're not a small business.
So what do you think?
I would drop it down to 3 million, and that's being very
Generous.
Generous, yeah.
Okay, 3 million.
Having been in small business for 50 years, yeah, if I was up near $5 million revenue, I wouldn't be calling myself a small business.
What is the classification for small business? Is it turnover, revenue, or is it amount of employees or
Revenue.
revenue?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So 5 million is a classification for small business?
Yeah.
that's from the New South Wales government, yeah, so that's where we took it from.
That's a huge revenue for a small business.
Does our seconder support dropping it to 3 million? Councillor Hannan?
No, I think it's fine to stay where it's at. At the end of the day, I think the director of planning has articulated that it may well give us a bit more of a wider opportunity. Often when we've put these grants out, often when we've put out events funding, you know, we have had a pigeonhole of the audience. So this actually opens it up a little bit more.
Okay, so there's no change that we don't have. Do we have anyone who supports Councillor Stringer's 3 million? No, Councillor Stringer, are you happy to leave it at 5 if we're?
Yeah, well,
Yep.
not much is going against.
Yep.
Even though, yeah, I just think 5 million is huge.
Okay, so we implement a pilot program as we've already gone through, and we include all of the themes
Nice,
in the
yeah.
assessment.
It's going to scare off a lot of small businesses.
I think it's all about the comms. It is pilot.
It's a pilot project.
Yep.
And it does say it's less than 5 million.
Yep.
It's not saying that you have to be at 5 million to apply or anything
No,
like that.
that's
so-
right.
And we can focus our comms on the lower end.
It's
Yeah.
also in line with the New South
New
Wales,
South Wales.
government definition there too.
Definition, there's not
Yeah.
much you can do about that.
But we're very good shy.
No, most of our businesses.
Yep.
Yeah, well, we don't need to.
Okay, so that, we've got the recommendation. All in favour of that? So we've got the motion. All in favour of that motion? Can I see hands? I'm not seeing enough. Thank you.
It's the motion.
Carried. All right, 8:18, we're at the 2025-29 Economic Development Strategy. The recommendation is that council endorse the draft 25 to 29 Economic Development Strategy. Do we have a mover? Councillor Natikoa, a seconder?
Yep.
Councillor Healy, okay, any questions or comments? No, all in favour? Thank you, carried. All right, 8:19, the council law's expenses and facilities policy. The recommendation is that council revoke the council law expenses and facilities policy adopted on the 15th of June 2022 and adopt the council law expenses and facilities policy attached as an appendix to this report. Do we have a mover?
Yep.
Councillor Healy, a seconder. Councillor Payne. Any questions or comments on this one?
Interesting feedback.
Interesting feedback.
So I did note the feedback.
As one of the parents that will be impacted by it, it was interesting to hear the feedback.
Yeah.
I did read through all the feedback on it as well. And again, it won't affect me, but they're saying, you know, we're compensated for what we do. We're here at 4:30, it's 5:30 in the afternoon. Daycare closes at, depending on where you are, I don't know in Berrigan, but I know in Cobram, daycare closes at 6. I gotta go pick up kids, like, you know, you can't, unfortunately, we can't rely on
I
daycare.
don't think you're compensated.
No, we aren't heavily
But
compensated
that
for
was
what
one
we
of the
do,
points of the submissions, was that we're compensated
Yeah.
for what we do, as meagre as that is.
Yep.
But, and ultimately, I guess from, you know, my perspective, it's actually getting access to the commercial childcare. Like Charlotte's been on the waiting list since March last year. You know, and I've managed to get her into preschool this year.
And there
'cause
isn't
she's 4.
evening care.
And there's not.
And that's
Like, out of school care finishes at 6 at the preschool and things like that. So that's certainly not an option. The only option I've got is family.
And going back, I remember we looked at how many hours against our rate. It worked out to be less than $12 an hour,
$12
am
an
I
hour.
correct? So,
Yeah.
yeah, well, there you go, and even less.
I think
So-
7 for a councillor and about $12 for the mayor.
So $7 is buying me a lot of childcare, and making ends meet. So cost of
And-
living.
And I guess, you know, there is $4,000 that is allocated to covering our expenses. So from my perspective, that well covers what I would be needing in that childcare costs. But yeah, I guess it's just who that money is.
There's also
going
the
to.
process of accountability as well. It's
Yeah.
not that we just say, can I have
The
some
cash
cash?
will be just
No.
crossing the table, yeah.
And I think that it's also, you know, minimising that other people in other professions struggle with childcare as well or have requirements, but this is,
The financial issue, yeah.
yeah, this
And
is just in regards to what we're doing here.
It's a huge issue, so.
And
It
how
is
do
a
we
big
attract
issue.
candidates?
Well, there's plenty, I think,
if
on
you
the
can't
board
get-
that think that they could step up and
Do it.
with their submissions, negative submissions. I'd love to see them nominating next time, so. Anyway.
Anyone else? Any other questions or comments? All right, we'll put it
There
to
was-
the,
there was-
sorry, councillor Stringy, go ahead.
Sorry, there was 9 objections.
I think it was 9.
Yep.
Yeah,
of
9
the
out
whole-
of nine, nearly 9,000 people.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And when we're allowing for this, the i's are dotted and the t's are crossed and everything's,
Yeah, it
Yeah.
requires a
And
formal,
it's
it requires
yeah.
a formal
Arrangement.
agreement. So
Yeah.
it's not just, dad's babysitting, it's
Yeah.
actually a formal agreement with
Yep.
other family members who have to come in because dad's not available.
well, I think when we
But
got
also be working.
9 objections out of 9,000, that we go ahead with what we had planned.
On the topic, I am interested actually to raise it with Local Government New South Wales and hear what other solutions are in place and maybe talk about the issue on the table.
I did check this with the Office of Local
Yeah.
Government before it went through, and they said as long as it's
Yeah.
in your CODA meeting practice, that it was.
But in
up to
terms
you.
of,
Yeah,
yeah,
Councillor's expenses.
council
facilities.
says that it was fine. as
it's
long as
permitted, but what I'm trying to say is if we go to Local Government New South Wales and say, hey, we need to work as a community so that the communities get that we need to support our councillors in this way, and Berrigan might be the first to do it. So, all in favour of that recommendation? Excellent, thank you, carried.
Happily be paid the same rates as the city councils, and I'll cover my own childcare. That's it.
Okay. Moving to,
remuneration request.
sorry. Scrolling, sorry. 8:20, Code of Meeting Practice. The recommendation is that council revoke the Berrigan Shire Council Code of Meeting Practice, which was adopted on the 16th of February 2022, and we adopt the Code of Meeting Practice that's attached with this report. Do we have a mover? Councillor Payne, seconder. Councillor Healy, any questions or comments? All in favour?
Is
Sorry,
this going
Councillor
to
Natikoa.
be, sorry, is this going to be upended with the ministers? Okay,
Eventually, but that may take some
time.
time.
Okay.
All in favour? Thank you, carried. 8:21. Hang on, scrolling again.
I'm trying to. It's a big document.
Page
You
152.
print the agenda so I could write where they were adjoining on the.
Page 156, I believe.
152.
152, what we
Yeah,
have. Okay, the National WAF Memorial Creek Walk is the title of the paper, and there's a recommendation. There is none. The direction of the council is sought. So we've had some submissions. Did you want to speak to this, Acting CEO?
I can. So this came as a request from Tocumwell Rotary, who are council's partners with the maintenance and the operation of the walk. It came to council last meeting for the benefit of Councillor Dennis, and you, as a council, resolved to put it out to public exhibition. We've had about 4 or 5 or 4 responses each way, 4 in favour, 4 against. We also had one that council requested specifically from the artist who was responsible for the design of the memorial and the interpretive signs, which is attached to the report. The main underlying theme was the Toke Rotary and the people who supported it thought it was a feather in Tocumwal's cap and Berrigan Shire's cap to be the home of a national memorial for a particular branch of the armed services from World War II. The people who were keen to keep Tocumwal in the name were much more attached to the idea of it being a special place for Tocumwal, and it tells the Tocumwal story. In reality, of course, as the artist said, it's trying to tell both, which really doesn't make your decision a lot easier, and hence why I really didn't have a direction to put forward to you. You've got two options. You can either stick with the name, or you can make it the National Memorial. In terms of the legalities, there is no legalities. If you call it the National Memorial, it's the National Memorial. You've already got, at the previous meeting, you already had a letter from the RSL and from the WAF Association, such that is, which has now been rolled into the RAAF Association, both either not objecting or supporting the proposal. But yeah, as I say, the flip side of changing the name would be the feedback you've got, which is, you know, is removing that Tocumwal from the name,
Which isn't
detracting
actually
from
in the name.
the Tocumwalness of the whole thing. Is there an option for a compromise name? I don't know. That might be, again, something that might be better addressed at, by councillors maybe, as opposed to me coming up with an idea.
Yep. Councillor Natikoa, you just made a point. Did you want to repeat that?
The fact that Tocumwal isn't actually in the name of it. It's
yeah.
actually called the Waff Creek Walk. It's not called the Tocumwal Waff Creek Walk. So, like, I understand the attachment to it being in Tocumwal, and it is a feather in Tocumwal's cap, but from a Shire perspective, having a national memorial in our Shire that can actually go up on different websites to actually pinpoint that there is a national memorial in Tocumwal, I think could potentially draw more people to Tocumwal for that reason, because they know it's there as a national memorial as opposed to just a local creek walk in Tocumwal kind of thing. So, and given that the websites, like the War Memorials website and things like that, they would all be updated as well and actually ultimately drop a pin for the Waff Creek Walk in Tocumwal.
Could that happen anyway with the existing name? Yes.
Yep.
Councillor Healy? Sorry.
No, mine was in line with what
Okay.
Councillor Natikoa.
Councillor Stringer?
We need to take into the fact that it is actually the only WAF memorial in Australia. So by pulling it in as a national WAF memorial is the right thing to do, I think. It's in Tocumwal. Everybody knows it's in Tocumwal.
It's not moving from Tocumwal.
It's not moving.
We should be calling it the Brown Snake Memorial. Find that many of them
Well,
there.
that's,
I don't know if there would be any cost to changing signs, like the names, the words on the signs. I haven't actually, I can't remember what the signs say.
No, I think
No,
they will
the-
just
the-
say the
the-
WAF
The WAF Memorial,
They just say the
Creek.
Waff Creek
Yeah.
Walk. Yeah.
Creek Walk.
And I did like the artist's sort of rewording, saying it's the National Memorial Waff Creek Walk, because then you don't actually have to change the signage, because the signage already says Waff Creek Walk.
Yeah.
So I think having it as National Memorial at the beginning, rather than splitting it, financially makes sense, because you don't actually have to change the
Yeah.
signs.
well, the
So move
sign,
the word memorial and
the
Waff.
sign would have to be changed anyway.
Eventually.
It's got to have
Yeah.
national added to it.
Councillor,
Not the ones during the thing, they're just saying the ones at each
At the
end.
beginning
Yeah.
and
We
end.
wouldn't have to change
Yeah.
the others though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
council's
think
going
it
to
should
cover
be
that cost though. We've already
National
been
WAF
scrutinised for
Memorial.
childcare fees and here we go changing signs.
yeah. Councillor Dennis?
The fact that it is the actual walk that the people did make makes it unique to the area. I'm just concerned that the word national might detract from that.
Is it about the signage, that we just make sure the signage is, it still retains what it is? but
Yes, it
The
does.
signage is
Yeah.
not this big, and we do all the pins and that?
Yeah, I haven't actually walked it. Is that is there a storyboard along the
Yeah.
walk that
Yeah.
tells you that
Yeah.
story
Yeah.
of
The whole
this is
way.
the
The actual
path?
walk
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
made
okay, so it doesn't
by
take away
women.
from that, in that it's still the walk in Tokemore that was completed? Because that story, is that right? That story's still spoken out along the way?
There's a number of information signs that tell you what.
I need to go and see it.
You
I
really
know
do
that,
need to.
yeah.
It's actually
quite a lovely walk.
Yeah. Other than the, yeah.
The
probably
snakes,
not in
but
the
we can
hot
deal with
time.
those.
Yeah, just wear
Can I
jeans and
ask
boots.
both Councillor Stringer and Councillor Dennis the same question? Have you had any feedback from the community, Councillor Dennis?
Yes, I have.
And what's that been?
Mainly not for the name change because of the respect for the women who did the walk, but the name change also for a national level. But I'm not 100% sure if it is the only representation nationally. I did try and look into that. I believe there might be something in Western Australia that does recognise that. So I'm not sure if we take ownership on that word national that it's appropriate, but I would need to do more investigation because I don't actually know.
Okay. Councillor Stringer?
I spoke to individuals at the RSL because I'm a member there, and with others around town, and the National WAF Memorial seemed to be the way they were all leaning, is that we can advertise it as such. People are going to know it's in Tokemore because we're going to tell them to come to Tokemore. And at the moment, as far as I know, I couldn't find anything on it. And if it is the only one, then it does carry the right to be called the National.
Pretty sure that's what they said when they were here.
So it says online WAF Memorial Creek Walk currently.
Yeah. So all we'd be doing is adding National to the front of it.
I think the artist suggested after the WAF, was that right? Or
The
just at
artist's
the beginning?
suggestion was National Memorial WAF Creek Walk.
Okay, okay. All right, does anyone want to move that we rename to that name?
Oh, well.
Councillor Stringer, second Councillor Natikoa. All right, so we have a motion. So we'll put that to the vote. Hands up, nice and high, everyone. All right, that's carried. Thank you. Good chat. All right, 8:22, I will exit the room and hand over to the Deputy Mayor.
I'm at 22.
Page 159.
Oh, I overshot it. There it is. 159?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. No, why is yours different?
Oh, I don't know.
Keep going down there, because that's still the creek.
Is it? Right.
22, already on the hospital advocacy.
Keep going. Oh, yeah, that's still Creek Walk there.
Yes.
I'm on 163. What did they add into mine?
Do they again?
8.22, Albury Wodonga Hospital advocacy recommendation is sought by council.
Can I just ask the question, first of all, before we start any debate, why has this come back to council? And why are we looking to be the lead advocate on this situation?
Because at the hospital meeting the other week,
Which week was that?
when Matt and
back
Julia
in-
went, Matt and Mayor Julia went,
It would have been
it's in the report
2nd
there.
of December 2024.
Yeah, so it was moved that everyone would move the same motion in each of their councils. I'm not 100% happy with the motion that they've given us to move, but I mean, it's up to you guys. So I put that in the report because I felt that the one we had already put forward was broad enough that it supported most of the stuff anyway. What I was most concerned about was if they were going to split off Albury Wodonga to look after Ovens Murray, and then we would be, then the other bit would be the Goulburn Valley Health. When we were at the Regional and Rural Health inquiry, one of the things that became really obvious was some of the councils who are dealing with 2 LHNs in New South Wales even, they have trouble getting, say someone is in hospital in one of the hospitals and they need to be moved. They won't necessarily move them to another hospital that's in another LHN, even if it's closer. They will move them within that. So So for me, being Berrigan, where we get serviced from across either Albury or Shepparton, I wasn't sure that that would lead to a good outcome for our people. But that's been, since then, they've put out their...
They're not proposing changing the funding agreement, but of the hospitals.
No,
So
they were just...
Victoria's always going to fund the Albury-Wodonga Hospital as it sits at the moment.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
And if you need to be moved from Albury-Wodonga, you go to Melbourne. You don't go to Wagga.
No, but,
Sydney, you go to
but
Melbourne.
sometimes you get referred to Shepparton and sometimes you get referred to Albury, depending on what issues you have at the moment.
Or where you request to be referred to.
Yeah, so that...
But if you're having a child, you're not going to Shepparton. you're
No,
going to Albury.
so I was more concerned that those would be less available because you'd have a split in your LHSN for them. Sorry, I'm getting confused between the two. But since then, that report has come out from Victorian Health, and they've said your LHSNs are what we said they were going to be, so they're all the one still. I don't know then, and the report then from Wodonga Council, they keep going out saying that they're representing all the councils, but we don't know that there's a going out. And it's already said that they seem to have changed their tune since. That's why I put that in the report. They've said that they support the new LHSNs. So honestly, I don't know what's going on. But I brought this in because at that meeting with all the councils there and the health providers, they said that we would all move some other motion. And I asked them, we've got a pretty broad motion on our books. Do we really have to move that? And they were a bit pushy. So I brought it to you. You don't have to. You don't have to.
No, I just find that Albury and Wodonga are probably the lead agencies, and there is a familiar voice. If we decide to put a motion that is different to what the broadness of the original one was, and that's filtered down through Ramjo and been adopted by Albury, Wodonga, and every other council in that region, I just don't understand why we're down in the weeds trying to be the lead agent on that. I think as it evolves, because we don't really have time for you writing these reports, I think as it evolves, then we will get further information, and then I think we then make decisions or strengthen our advocacy around that. I don't think Albury Wodonga is, not that I read all the time the Border Morning Mail. I haven't once read in the last, since that December 2, and then circumstantially we had a meeting after that meeting, and we got feedback from the CEO and the Deputy Mayor. I haven't seen Albury Wodonga saying all they're looking for is a united voice. I don't think they're looking for any stronger advocacy from us, because it directly affects them. We use that service and have done for a long period of time. And the beauty of where we are situated is we do have two options. We can go to Shepparton or we can go to Albury, and it is choice. And as I said, it's funded by the same body. I'm just puzzled as why we.
I've bought it because the group asked me to. That's the only reason it's here. Otherwise, I felt that we had it, because I asked them if that was sufficient, our thing, and they said, no, we want all of the same. I'm not sure that we really need to bring it back, but there you go. They asked me to do it.
So that's Wodonga Council's asked you to do that?
Wodonga, yes, the Victorian. Yeah, but from that meeting that day, yeah. Albury's been quite silent, to be honest.
Yeah, again, I'm not quite. I appreciate Wodonga's position. I thought we were a member of Ramjo, not Murray Regional.
Like I said, it came out of that big meeting where everyone was there.
I realise that, but what I'm saying is I think it's sympathetic to what Ramjo had asked.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why we're trying to.
Then we don't have to change our current motion. Then stands.
That's just my thoughts.
That's what I heard.
So if for council, you could just say that the current motion we have on our books remains. We're not going to change it. So.
Yep. Yeah. If you don't have, council doesn't have to resolve anything.
You don't have to resolve anything here. You can just leave it. If it lapses, then we just stay with the motion we already have.
Well,
Okay.
there's no motion being put. You don't.
And
need
that
to put
will
a
be
motion.
that will be that will be my response back to them too.
Yeah, and just further to add that, if Councillor Goble, we know him quite well, if he'd like to come out and, express to us what the point of view would be, then I'm sure we could step up our advocacy when needed. But I believe at the moment we're supporting the position that Albury Wodonga have taken, and and as it evolves, I'm sure we'll step up when we need to.
Yeah, I just didn't want us to get us in the middle of a firefight, but I was asked to bring it, so I did. So now I can say I've done
There
it.
you go, there you go.
And
Only one voice.
I'll just let Mayor Julia know that she can.
I can do that, you keep doing it.
Sorry?
I need a mover.
No, you don't need anything. No, we just let it lapse because the old
That's it?
motion stands. There was no motion put. Yeah. Hey,
Everyone agree?
no one else wanted to put another motion? Oh, better check. It didn't sound like it.
The acting CEO referred to me as her worship.
Did you nearly punch him?
Yep. Her worship. Thank you.
Council have decided to stick with what we have and
The current motion
No
remains.
motion.
no motion.
Okay.
I'll hand back to you, Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We are on 8:23, the advocacy plan. The recommendation is that council adopt the words provided for the advocacy strategy and direct staff to develop a branded document for presentation to council at a future meeting. Do we have a mover? Councillor Payne, a seconder?
Yep.
Councillor Natikoa. Any questions or comments?
Pretty proud of that one.
No? All right, all in favour then? Thank you, carried. Item 9, we've got notice of motion questions with notice. We do not have any. We could take a break now until 6 p.m. and then come back into confidential. Shall I move confidential before we go to break? Is that the sensible thing, or wait till we come back?
You can move to go into confidential now and have your break in confidential.
Okay, so could I get someone to move to go in?
Got a question.
Sorry.
I had the question.
Oh, question, yes?
Question without notice.
This is with notice.
This is with notice.
With notice. We'll come back to without notice. All
Off we
good.
go.
Could I get someone to move for us to go into closed council? Councillor Natikoa, seconded Councillor Payne. All in favour? Excellent. Thank you. So we will have a break and then we will go straight into back, while we were in closed council, we had, can I just get you to scroll these back for me? You can't scroll them back.
Oh, yeah, it'll show up on the thingy.
Okay, sorry, I'm just going to say, for item 10.1, that remains confidential.
Item 10.1, did you actually make a resolution?
We did, but I can't see them.
Apologies, Will. That's better.
So 10.1 was for information. Oh, we did have a
You can
notion,
read that
a commercial in confidence that relate to negotiations at 10.1. 10.2, the recommendation, which I will read out, is the council direct the acting CEO to prepare a priority report regarding the process of possible sale of the Tocumwal Aviation Museum. The report, including independent valuation and community engagement plan, are to be presented to council as soon as possible, with a report in March ordinary meeting. Thank you. And item 10.3, the Berrigan Caravan Park lease is a commercial in confidence negotiation and confidential also. We'll now move to item 11, motions without notice or questions without notice. Do any councillors have any motions or questions without notice? Councillor Dennis.
I've just got a question. The mobile communication services have been problematic, to say the least, at Tocumwal over a period of time and are increasingly declining in service coverage each year. The problem seems to be exacerbated when the population increases with visitors and festivals. There are consistent streams of days, even months over the school holidays, where there is no service available at all. There is a continual risk where this is detrimental to the community. Not being able to make or receive calls or to access communication for alerts or media poses a risk to the people in Tocumwal and to the external family and friends trying to contact people in the Tocumwal area. This issue is affecting individuals, businesses and health services. The issue has been raised in many formats with an ongoing request towards resolving the issue as soon as possible. I would like to ask the Berrigan Shire councillors to continue to investigate, the Berrigan Shire Council to continue to investigate this issue with the urgency and to advocate to all communication providers, including the Minister for Communications, to seek an urgent response and outcome to ensure this issue is resolved with urgency.
I'll have, after the Ramjo meeting, we'll have a report for council regarding the regional connectivity project that I've been working on in the background, and that will at least provide some answers, or some answers about what that project is and the work that we've been doing with 20 councils and Telstra. So.
And we have been advocating to all
Yes.
levels of government, and there are also some interim solutions in the works at the minute. So would you like to move to have a report come to a future council meeting, the March meeting?
Yes.
Do we have a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second
Councillor
that.
Natikawa? Okay. Everyone's got their hands on that one. All in favour? All right. Anyone else with questions without notice or motions without notice? No, all
I'd
right.
just like to add to Sharon's that from the
Yes.
23rd of December until last week, to make a phone call, I had to drive down to the main street, which was really good for my business. And internet didn't exist at all until 2 o'clock in the morning when I'd have to set my alarm to get up and put orders in. It's just absolutely shocking.
I think most concerning is you can't make a 000 call when there's.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the lines
Yeah.
are down.
And we've put out media releases, we've done all of that, and I have actually covered it in the January mayor's meeting, so people do know we have done things, because there was some social media suggesting that we've been away from
And not doing anything.
nothing, which is not correct, so
No.
clarify.
Have we lent on our local representative at state level?
Yeah, we've been speaking with federal and state ministers on both sides of the borders. We'll be doing that again once we've got an actual framework for this regional, once we bury down that, embed that project. And I know Susan Lay is definitely across it, and she's making representations for us, so is Helen Dalton. So we are talking to them regularly, and that's one of the first things that comes up regularly.
Standing agenda items.
Just remembering the local member for Murray's comments at an ambulance meeting was that I can represent you if you stand up and make a lot of noise about that.
Yep.
maybe this is something that's, you know, as
We
you
can
said,
make a lot of noise about.
there's a lot of development look like happening. How can we even entertain any development in Tocumwal if we don't have connectivity for a start,
And I
let alone
think
services to provide?
Yeah.
the noise has gone beyond not having a service. The noise has actually become essential because we're talking about issues where, say, if someone's trying to contact a family member because they're unwell, then they have to report them as missing so that someone will actually go and knock on their door to find them.
Do the welfare
The
checks.
list goes on and
Yep.
on, so it's a health issue, and I think it's quite
Oh,
dangerous
absolutely.
not to have that service.
When they turned off 3G, we've got spots on the farm now where we've always had service and we don't have service now. And I make calls through Starlink in the house.
We had, it was one of the providers, I won't name them right now, has asked if we do have people who do have those coverage issues to forward their case studies with their names and addresses. We have actually had people had their actual coverage reviewed and fixed.
Reviewed and fixed, yeah.
So, you know, it's arduous, but if we can get people who, you know, the absence on the farm, we need to hear from them.
And to reply to that, I do know issues where that has been the case, but that fix was only a short-term fix and it reverted back to not being existent again.
Yep.
I rang them from the payphone at the post office 3 times, making a complaint, and said to them, I can't ring you on my mobile, I've got to ring you on a payphone.
Yes.
And yet I go to Bali, in the bottom of a dead volcano, and get a full signal and ring them and complain. It's just
Right.
wrong.
So thank you everyone on that questions without notice. We're on to the Mayor's report at item 12.1. I've just got a brief report. So 5th of December, I did some interviews in relation to the development application we considered at the 4th of December meeting with Win News and with Cobram Courier. 8th of December, we had the Barooga Carols by candlelight. It was the biggest attendance I've ever seen. It was ridiculous. 13th of December, the CEO and I attended a public hearing from the Select Committee of Rural Regional Health online at 6 a.m. in Bali. But I was amazingly chipper nonetheless. That went actually very well. And we got some positive feedback. We
were with similar sized
But your phone
councils, I think that
service is
helped.
good too.
It was online, it was on WebEx.
Yeah.
The internet was spotless, it was perfect.
Exactly.
14th of January, I met with a couple of women from Moira Shire who are developing a group called the Women of Moira, and I said, well, why don't you hook in with some of your adjacent councils? So they were very keen. So they're looking to potentially work with us. They don't want to be connected, they want to be connected to the council, but they don't want to be a subcommittee at Moira, but they're very keen to develop professional relationships with women in the region. We noted there was a sort of an age gap where you've got groups of women, like the optimists, and then you've got groups, sporting groups, but maybe nothing in the middle age groups around professional associations. So that was quite interesting. And that's it for what I've got for this month. Would someone like to move my report? Councillor Payne, second to Councillor Natikoa. All in favour? Thank you. Council law reports. I'll go around the table. Councillor Payne.
Berrigan Street Party on the 6th of December. Good night, as always. Continue to roll. Kids very happy.
Excellent.
And that's it, all I've got.
Thank you. Councillor Natikoa.
Had the Finley Primary School and Finley St Joey's and the Cobram Secondary College presentations, so that was all very well received with their books. But I think that's about it.
Thank you. Councillor Dennis, nothing yet?
I've been to a lot of things, but I can't say that I've actually represented the council. But I've been to a lot of events and social functions.
Good. Councillor Hannan.
Just the Christmas extravaganza in Finley.
Excellent. Councillor Stringer.
We had our Christmas carols, and due to my fault, I put the wrong date up and we ended up clashing with Finley. It will be the Sunday before Christmas next year and from there on, like it was last year.
Yeah.
We have our fishing competition this weekend on Saturday, in case anybody's interested in coming along. And we have our the annual duck race at midday. Ducks are available. They're $10 each. First over the line is $1,000. Second is $500 and third is $250. I'm the head judge on that, so I'm open for bribes.
Councillors, please do not leave the room this evening before seeing Councillor Stringer
Yeah,
purchasing a
get yourself
duck.
a duck. That's all. I got stuff with the Foreshore Committee, but that's not for here.
Okay. Councillor Healy?
Berrigan Street Party. People nearly got blown away, but it was a really well-supported evening, at the beginning. We had a really good MC for the carols part of the night as well, Mr. Hanson. And then I attended the presentation night for the Berrigan Public School, which was great, a great opportunity to meet some different community members as well, because not everybody is aware of me. And then the Finley Extravaganza, where Councillor Hannam was as well. All really great events.
Excellent, thank you. Councillor Brooker?
Pretty boring for me. Carols, which was absolutely fantastic evening, followed the next day by the school presentation at Berrigan Public School.
Excellent, thank you. Do we need to move the council's reports? No, it just says that we do in front of me. All right, so that'll conclude our meeting today, but I would like to remind those watching at home and also in the room that on Sunday, 26th of July at 8 a.m. you can get brekkie at Baruga Botanical Gardens prior to the citizenship ceremony.
This is July.
Sorry, January. It's been a long meeting. So this Sunday, 26th of January, at 8 a.m. for brekkie, 9 a.m. for the citizenship and the Australia Day Awards. And I'll be excited to see everyone who attends, and also congratulations to all the nominees. So we will conclude our meeting at 6:51. Our next meeting will be held on Wednesday, the 19th of February at 9 a.m. Oh, Berrigan, CWA 7 to 9, 26th of January in Berrigan. Thanks, everyone.
I have been asked by the CEO magazine